right now our water comes through a hose basically from the library while we settle out our well problems, and so it froze overnight basically is probably the problem, and some water is coming through, but it's a trickle, so we're turning on taps to kind of get the water flowing. It should be okay. Meanwhile, that's the case. So there is some water, just not enough water for the pressure, and we're getting that warmed up. All right, with that, take us away, Trevor.
How many roads must a man walk down before he call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? How many times must the cannonballs fly for the forever band? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man turn his head, pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing.
Good morning. Oh, it's not on. Can you hear me? Okay. Welcome to the Parish Church of Stone Acton, a welcoming and spiritual community. My name is June McKnight, and I serve on the Worship Committee and the Sabbatical Committee. For those visiting FPC for the first time, we welcome you. Please let us know you are here by filling out one of our visitor information cards in the pews and hand it to an usher, drop it off in the plate, or hand it to Meg, our welcoming staff member. I don't see Meg, but I think she's here. Our minister staff and board are listed on the front of the order of service. Please feel free to ask me or any of these people for more information. If you would like a large print order of service or hymnal or an assisted listening device, please ask our ushers. Our assisted listening devices are small radios. Anyone is welcome to use one to listen to this service from another space in or around the building. After the service, please join us for coffee and conversation in our Fellowship Hall, which is one level down at the other end of our building, or in a breakout room if you're joining us online. I'd like to draw your attention to the announcements in your order of service. and also invite you to check out our webpage for more information. You can also sign up there for our newsletter and email alerts. So we have a few additional announcements today. The drum circle starts tonight, and if you have any questions, Nan Rogers is here. Nan, would you like to stand up? Oh, sorry, I'm pointing to the wrong person. There you go. Thank you. So that's tonight here at FPC. And now I'd like to invite Maggie. Here we are.
Hi, I'm Maggie Braun. I'm currently doing my Eagle project for the church. If you haven't noticed the hole out there with the cone, that's my project. I'm doing a little library for the church. I have a box over in the the fellowship, that fellowship hall. Any books are thankful. I'm grateful for any books. It's going to be for the church. It's going to be a little library where you give a book or take a book, whatever you want. And thank you so much.
Yeah, you've seen those little free libraries out in the communities, and this one's going to kind of be modeled to look like it's a little church in a way, I think. And Maggie's doing this for her Eagle Scout project, and so we're grateful to that.
Thank you. And I have a special announcement that is not in your order of service either. Our minister, Reverend Cindy Landrum, is taking a 4-month sabbatical beginning in January. More information on that will be coming in a few weeks from the sabbatical committee. And 24th, sorry, our Reverend Mr. Brown will be here at FPC. So you will have the opportunity to meet her and chat with her during coffee hour. Once again, that's 2 weeks from today, November 24th. And now let's come together for a time of community, sing, and worship.
Our opening words are by the Reverend Peggy Clark, minister of the Community Church of New York. She writes, "Come in and bring everything you have. Drag in your fear, your doubt, your anger. Carry with you your heartbreak, your desperation, your feelings of being small or alone or abandoned. Leave nothing by the door for you to pick up on your way out. Bring it all in here to your people. Even if you don't know a soul in this room, we are for each other. We are what we have. We are what we need. Let's make room for each in our fullness. Let's make room for faith, hope, and love, which are also today looking for a home. Even in this hard, cold space, we can create softness. We can create welcome. We can create warmth, wherein all of who we are can rest." And we light our chalice this morning. Lindsay, would you light our chalice for us this morning? We light our chalice this morning remembering that the chalice was created in World War II by the Unitarian Service Committee. A member of them was sort of commissioned to create a symbol that they could use to mark safe houses from the Nazis. And so it was used in the resistance to the Nazis that we created this symbol of flaming chalice, which eventually became the symbol of our faith. May its light shine brightly for all safe houses needed today. Our opening hymn is "We Shall Be Known." I think we will have words on screen, and anything else you want to say about it before we begin? Rise in body and spirit.
So we need a bit of rhythm going for this, and that's you. Let's start off with that. 1. Join me whenever you're ready. We shall be known by the company. Let's start that again. Sorry, I started us too fast. I'm just so excited to sing this with you all. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. One more time. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Oh, you got us. It's time for our covenant and affirmation. Good job, Pat. A couple others of you. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
We acknowledge that we are on the unceded territories of the Massachusetts, Nipmuc, Pawtucket, and Wampanoag peoples, as well as honoring and recognizing the Black and African people whose unpaid and forced labor built this country and our state. We celebrate and work in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and people of color organizations, leading.
This is the time in our service when we share our joys and sorrows. those things that are on our hearts and on our minds that we want lifted up together in community. I want to begin by sharing 2 joys and sorrows, and then we'll take those that our lay ministers have received online, and then invite those here in the sanctuary, and then those online. We light one last candle for those joys and sorrows that are left unspoken. And in a tradition we learned from the Marlborough Hudson Church, some of whom are here today, we light one candle for the ongoing cost of war that is ever present in our hearts and minds. My prayer for today is by the Reverend Egbert Ethelred Brown. He was a Jamaican Black Unitarian minister who started up a church in Harlem in 1920. It went for about 20 years before it closed. It's one of our failure stories in Unitarian Universalism because we really failed to support that church and give it the support it needed to thrive. And so his story is counted in the book Been in the Storm So Long by the Reverend Mark Morrison Reed and Jackie James. He wrote this prayer, and I'm not sure exactly when, but I imagine it to be a sort of World War II prayer from the context of it. As we face a troubled and puzzled world, we too are troubled and puzzled. As our fond dreams remain unrealized and our bright homes of yesterday wither in the bitter disappointments of today, our courage fails, our spirits droop, our faith trembles, and frustrated, we bow our heads in despair. Nevertheless, we come to God in this hour of worship, in this house of prayer, as we pray for peace in our time. O God, may we be at peace with the world, with ourselves, and with Thee. May we know that without love, there will never be peace. Teach us, therefore, to love. Blessed be. Amen. As we sing our next hymn, which Chris is going to teach us a little, I'm inviting the ushers to pass some baskets of stones among you. These are for our next ritual that we have after this hymn. And I invite you to take 3 stones from the basket. If we start running out, take 2. It'll be fine. And people online, see if you can find 3 small objects to use for this time. And that, I think that ends my instructions. Yeah, don't spend a lot of time picking them out because you're going to give them to somebody else. Please rise in body and spirit.
So I'm going to use this microphone this time. This song is in 2 parts, so why don't we learn the first part first, so just sing back after me. Loosen, loosen, baby. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. And then part 2, I'll sing slightly longer phrases. Holy breath and holy name. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Will you ease this pain? So we're going to sing part 1 4 times. Then I'll put up 2 fingers and we'll sing part 2 2 times. And then you can sing whichever part you want because they go together beautifully. As you feel like we're ready and the stones have been passed out, I encourage you to switch back to part 1. And then the last time I'll put my hand up as a signal and we'll just sing let go, let go, let go a few times as our ending.
Also a signal of power.
Yeah.
Loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, baby, and hold me, baby. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Muscles and bones, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go. You know, I usually remember to turn off the microphone when I'm singing up here, and I did, only Chris had done it, so I turned it on. Good for you. It's a morning of tech problems, one of which is that I thought I uploaded my whole script and did not. So I don't have exact words to tell you what I want to tell you right now, but I have the gist of it. How many of you know the name James Luther Adams? Small handful. Once upon a time, he was like the most famous theologian in Unitarian Universalism, or in Unitarianism. I guess that's not saying much, though. And James Luther Adams was a minister who had served the Salem Church and then the Wellesley Hills Church during the 1930s. And he went on to become a professor at Meadville Lombard Theological School, which is where I went to seminary. And he wrote numerous books, one being Voluntary Associations and so on. And in the 30s, when he was serving those two churches here in Massachusetts, he did a lot of traveling to Germany and just connecting up with other liberal thinkers, philosophers, and theologians. And he got a bit mixed up in something that was going on there at the time in Deutschland in the 1930s. And became part of, along with his friends that he made there, became part of the resistance against Nazism. He was stopped twice by the Gestapo. Once was, they suspected him of having papers that he was smuggling that he shouldn't have, and they went to his place where he was staying, and his landlady basically got all mad at them and told them to go away and leave them alone, and they actually did in an amazing situation. And so the papers he had there in his bedroom were not found. Another time they took him in for questioning, accusing him of doing something he did do, like with the other case, of walking down the street with a Jewish teacher and having visited a synagogue. And for that he was questioned and detained. And from his writings, I infer, although he doesn't say it directly, that he was pretty severely beaten in that encounter with the Gestapo. He successfully got out of Germany, and one of the things he said about that time is that he heard from a lot of anti-Nazis the statement that if only 1,000 of us had put up a strong resistance in the 1920s, we could have stopped Hitler. And from that, he had a religious conversion of sorts. And his religious conversion was that we need to fight oppression. We need to fight the forces of fascism. And what we need in order to do that is what he called the voluntary association. And he wrote a whole book called Voluntary Associations. Now, a voluntary association is one that people join freely and without conversion, and by which he sometimes means the church. And that is the core of our resistance and our fight, is voluntary associations that we join. James Luther Adams is best known nowadays for having written an essay he called The 5 Smooth Stones of Religious Liberalism. And the 5 smooth stones, anyone know where that image comes from? Yeah, this is tricky history knowledge. That comes from the story of David and Goliath in the Bible. David put 5 smooth stones in that slingshot with which he slew the mighty giant. So it's a bit of a negative, violent imagery. So let's think of it as 5 tools in your toolbox, 5 smooth stones in your toolbox that are this core of what liberal religion is. Now, I only told you to take 3 today. The first 2 stones are the stones of about religious institutions, what it means to be a voluntary association, one of which is that we come together. The second stone is all relationships between people should be free and not based on coercion, that we freely choose to enter into relationship with one another. The first smooth stone is that religious liberalism affirms that revelation is continuous, that the books are not sealed, that we can always learn new things, that if you believe in God, God is always revealing him, her, themselves to us. And if you don't, that the world is constantly unfolding and knowledge expanding. And then there are the 3 stones that I think we need this morning. And so what I want you to do is turn to one another. And as I tell you about these stones, I'm going to have you hand a stone to each other. And if you ended up with fewer than 3, just hand the same stone over and over again. This is symbolic, right? And folks online, if you have something other than a stone, hand yourself your pencil or your eraser or your spoon or whatever you found. So the third stone of the 5 smooth stones is that he says religious liberalism affirms the moral obligation to direct one's effort towards the establishment of a just and loving community. It is this that makes the role of the prophet central and indispensable in liberalism. Now, he also wrote an essay about how we're all prophets. So when he says the role of the prophet, he means you. We are all prophets in religious liberalism working towards justice. So I invite you to hand the stone to one another saying the word justice. Justice. The fourth smooth stone is, he says, we deny the immaculate conception of virtue and affirm the necessity of social incarnation. So what does that mean? Goodness is not created immaculately from God. Goodness is created through social incarnation, that we create the good. So we have the agency to create good. So I invite you to pass the stone to one another and say agency. Lastly, what's the most important thing you need right now? If you've got justice and agency, love, I heard love, that's a good one. Yeah, no, the fifth smooth stone isn't love. Could be, should be, but it's hope. He says, and he calls it optimism, but we tend to refer to it now as hope, because he says liberalism holds that the resources, divine and human, that are available for the achievement of meaningful change, justify an attitude of ultimate optimism or hope. Basically, we have the resources among us, and that justifies us having hope. So I invite you to pass that last smooth stone and say hope. So those are the three tools for your spiritual toolbox I give you to take with you today. Justice, agency, hope. Justice, agency, hope. Justice, agency, hope. Justice, agency, hope. And with this, we can and will, folks, change the world. May it be so. Our plate is shared this month with a really great organization, more about which is in your order of service, the African Community Center of Lowell. This is the first time we've had them as one of our plate sharing organizations, so it's really exciting to learn to partner with them. Please give as generously as you are able. Half of the plate goes to support them and half to support our church in its work of justice, agency, and hope. Yes, thank you. I turned it off during the fire. When I'm having times of struggle, depression, heartache over the work of justice, feeling like it's rolling backwards, I always think to the suffragists and how it was, what year? 1848, when Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott held the Women's Rights Convention in Seneca Falls, New York. Have any of you been there to that location? Yeah, it's a sacred spot of mine. And not too far from Rochester, where Susan B. Anthony was, and where women today still stick their stickers that I voted all over her grave every 4 years or even every 2 years. And it's 1848, and they passed a Declaration of Sentiments, they called it, that mirrored the Declaration of Independence, saying that we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal. But there was a long time to go before they would see the vote. Years, decades came and went. 50 years pass. They're still fighting as the century turns. Susan B. Anthony dies, Elizabeth Cady Stanton dies, Lucretia Mott dies, Lucy Stone dies. All their early leaders, most of them have passed away. In 1917, they're still fighting, and they're having regular protests in D.C. in front of the White House, I believe it was, protesting for the right to vote. In 1917, 30-some women are arrested in what they call the Night of Terror, and they're taken to jail or to a workhouse camp place, and they are severely beaten, some of them. And one woman has a heart attack as she watches another woman being beaten. One woman is strung up with her hands in cuffs above her all night long in the Night of Terror. But what happens, I think, is that, and this is under the presidency of Woodrow Wilson, and what happens in that time is that the tide of the country finally has been starting to change. I mean, it's gone before Congress and been voted down, the right for women to vote. But state by state, we've started to see some states signing on, Colorado. And in 1919, finally, we pass it. And in 1920, it's ratified. Women can vote 104 years ago this year. Theodore Parker, the Unitarian minister who was himself a believer in women's suffrage, he uttered the words that became famous, the moral, he said it a little differently than we know, I do not pretend to understand the moral universe, the arc is a long one. My eye reaches but a little ways, he said. So he's looking out at the arc of the universe, and he can't see the arc because his eyes only go a little far. He says, I cannot calculate the curve and complete figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. And from what I can see, I am sure it bends towards justice. These words are going to be picked up by Martin Luther King in the civil rights movement, which too had a long arc towards justice. If you think just about desegregation, it's 1954 when they passed Brown versus the Board of Education. And they fight, and we have the Freedom Riders come and go. We have Emmett Till killed. We have Selma go on, and we're fighting for voting rights, and we're fighting for civil rights. We're fighting for desegregation. It's not till 1975 when I'm walking across picket lines into the first day of kindergarten that Ferndale schools in Michigan were the last schools to have fought for segregation and lost and had been forced to by the federal government to desegregate. Martin Luther King took Theodore Parker's words and changed them to be more pithy, more memorable, more catchy. And he said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Another struggle we saw mostly during my lifetime, but really starting in 1969 with Stonewall, the gay rights movement and LGBTQ movement as it expanded. And throughout my lifetime, I've watched that fight for equality for LGBTQ people go and be pushed back. And we've seen a wave of anti-trans legislation in the last 2 years, particularly as state after state has passed bans against, and is still working on bans against things like gender-affirming surgery and recognition and being able to use bathrooms. And we here in Massachusetts fought against a pushback of our bathrooms law, and we won it to say that people can use the bathroom of their gender of choice, and we're still fighting today. I started ministry, I was ordained here in Massachusetts in 2002, and fall of 2002, I was ordained here in Massachusetts. I was working in Gardner. And I, at that time, signed in 2003, I signed on with a number of clergy saying, I will no longer sign any marriage license until same-sex marriage is legalized. And it was, only a year later in 2004. Then I moved to Michigan. And Michigan passed that fall of November 2004, passed a constitutional ban along with a number of other states saying that same-sex marriage is banned by constitutional law now from our state. And I fought for it there for 13 years through my ministry there until the state had a case that was settled by a U.S. district court that said marriage equality is legalized. That decision came through on a Friday, as many decisions do, and we knew that a stay was going to be put in place as soon as the government could do it, basically. And so around the state, 5 or so county clerks opened their offices on Saturday to give licenses. And we, the Unitarian clergy of that state, we were ready. And we flocked to those cities, Muskegon, Lansing, one in Oakland County, Ann Arbor, and one other where the courts were going to be open and licenses were going to be issued, and 300 licenses were signed that day. I did only 3 because I went to Ann Arbor where a lot of clergy showed up, but the Unitarian clergy signed hundreds of those 300. And those licenses were overturned by the next day when the stay of the order was put into place, and we were told that those weddings would not be recognized. And I once again said, I'm not going to sign any licenses until they recognize the licenses I've signed. And sure enough, it goes to the Supreme Court along with several other states, all the way up to the Supreme Court in 2015. It passes, and we have marriage equality across the land. During that time period, Barack Obama was our president, and he was proud to use Martin Luther King's words often, but he would change them slightly, and he would say, the arc of the moral, and I don't have his exact words in front of me, but the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But here's the thing, folks, we have to put our hands on it and bend the arc. And he said that in many different ways, in many different phrases over the years. But he took those words of Theodore Parker and he said, we must put our hands on the ark and bend it towards justice. And that takes us right back to what we said a few minutes ago. Justice, agency, hope. And that's where I want to leave you today. That the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, but we have the agency and we have the power to bend that justice, and we must hold on to the hope that we can see it just but a little ways right now, and it may look like it's bending the wrong way, but it is not. It is bending towards justice because we will not let go. I love you. I said we were going to be done by 11 o'clock because our legislators are coming, and it's 11:03 because I preached for a whole 7 minutes there. So let's close it on up and sing our closing hymn. Chris was so indulgent of me this week because I was like, can we just sing the songs that will make me feel good? And he was like, yes. Please rise in body and spirit. This is, what is this, Chris? What are we singing?
1 foot lead with love.
Yeah. I'm going to go scoot on down. No, I'm not. I'm going to do benediction words. What am I saying? Keep going. Somebody scoot on down and make sure that somebody's there to greet our legislators as they're arriving.
up your eyes. Don't you despair. There's up ahead. Your path is there.
I know you're scared. I know you're scared. Well, I'm scared too. But here I am. Right next to you. Right next to you. We got to put one foot in front of the other. And we will love. One foot in front of the other. And we will love. We got to put one foot in front of the other. And we will love. One foot in front of the other. And we will love. Give up hope. Don't give up hope.
To you, my voluntary association, our future is not sealed. Revelation unfolds, and we will carry on with power, justice, agency, love. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be. Go in peace. We have a special time following the service where some of our state representative and our state senator are joining us down in coffee hour for conversation about where we go next. I invite you to join us there.